Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, give yourself all what you are and what you do to the Divine, and you will have peace. With always our love and blessing, says our Divine Mother. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 4, The Book of Birth and Quest, Canto 4, The Quest, page 429. Inexorably faithful to their task, they hold his nature's sequence in their guard, carrying the unbroken thread old lives have spun. Attendance on his destiny's measured walk, leading to joys he has won and pains he has called. Even in his casual steps, they intervene. Nothing we think or do is void or vain. Each is an energy loosed and holds its course. The shadowy keepers of our deathless past have made our fate the child of our own acts, and from the furrows labored by our will, we reap the fruit of our forgotten deeds. But since unseen the tree that bore this fruit, and we live in a present born from an unknown past, they seem but parts of a mechanic force to a mechanic mind tied by earth's laws. Yet are they instruments of a will supreme, watched by a still all-seeing eye above. A prescient architect of fate and chance, who builds our lives on a foreseen design, the meaning knows and consequence of each step, and watches the inferior stumbling powers. Upon her silent heights, she was aware of a calm presence throned above her brows, who saw the goal and chose each fateful curve. It used the body for its pedestal, the eyes that wandered where its searchlight fires, the hands that held the reins its living took. All was the working of an ancient plan, a way prepared by an unerring guide. Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Question and Answers of 1954, page 134, question. Sweet Mother, what does psychic vision mean? For this, our Divine Mother says, vision? You know what physical vision is, don't you? Physical, do you know it well? Well, the same thing happens in the psychic. That is to say, instead of seeing with physical organs, you see with psychic organs. You have these eyes here, don't you? Well, there are eyes in the psychic which see psychically. It does not depend upon the quality of the vision, it depends upon the state of being which sees, the organs which see. Our Divine Mother says, a psychic sight sees what goes on in the psychic, either in the psychic state or the psychic domains or the psychic being. A mental sight sees what goes on in the mind it sees. It is seeing like a physical sight, truly physical. With your physical eyes, you cannot have a psychic vision. Only your psychic being can have a psychic sight. You must have sufficiently close relation with your psychic being to remember what it has seen, to be conscious of what it saw, but it is not your physical being which sees, it is your psychic being. It is not your physical being seeing in a different way, it is your psychic which sees, says our Divine Mother. Question, sweet Mother, here it is written, the intensity of divine love never creates a disturbance anywhere in the being. Our Divine Mother says, yes. But if someone has a weak body, does not have the intensity of divine love create a disturbance? Our Divine Mother says, that is perhaps not divine love. Automatically, one receives only what one can bear when it is a question of divine love. Divine love is there always in all its intensity, a formidable power, but most people do not feel anything at all. What they exactly feel of it exclusively in proportion to what they are, their capacity of receiving. Imagine, for instance, they are bathing in an atmosphere all vibrant with divine love. You're not aware of it. Sometimes, very rarely, few seconds, there's suddenly the feeling of something. Then you say, oh, divine love came to me. What a joke. It is just that you were simply, for some reason or other, a wee bit open, so you felt it. Or else, in this way, spasmodically, suddenly one is in a good state, so one feels something and says, oh, the divine consciousness, divine love has turned to me, has come to me. It is not like that. One has a tiny little opening, very tiny at times, like a pinhead. And naturally, that forces, rushes in, for it is like an active atmosphere. As soon as there is a possibility of being received, it is received. But this is so for all divine things. They are there, only one does not receive them, for one is closed up, blocked. One is busy with other things most of the time. Most of the time, one is full of oneself. So, as one is full of oneself, there is no place for anything else. One is actively busy with other things, filled with things, and there is no place for the divine, says our Divine Mother. But the divine is there. The divine is there. It is like all the wonders that they are there around you. You do not see them. Sometimes, one often, when you are just a tiny bit more receptive, or else when you are in sleep, you are less exclusively busy with the other small affairs, you have a gleam of something, and you see, you feel something, but as usually, as soon as you are awake, again it is obliterated. At first, as you know, by the formidable ego, which is all full of itself, and the whole universe moves in accordance with this ego. You are at the center, and the universe turns around you. If you look at yourself attentively, you will see it is like that. Your vision of the universe, that's you at the center, and the universe all around. So there is no place for anything else. It is not the universe you see, it is yourself you see in the universe. So, at first, to begin with, you must be able to get out of the ego. You must be able to get out of the ego. Afterwards, it has to be, you understand, in a certain state of inexistence. Then you begin to perceive things as they are from a little higher up. But if you want to know things as they are, you must be absolutely like a mirror, silent, peaceful, immobile, impartial, without preference, in a state of total receptivity. And if you are like that, says our Divine Mother, you will begin to see that there are many things you are not aware of, but which are there, which will start becoming active in you. Then you will be able to be in these things instead of being exclusively enclosed within the little points you are in the universe. There are all kinds of ways getting out of yourself, but it is indispensable if you want to begin to know things as they are and not in terms of yourself. Question, sweet mother, what attitude should one take to get out of the ego? For this, our Divine Mother smiles and says, attitude? It is rather a will, isn't it? You must will it. Attitude, says our Divine Mother, is it rather a will, isn't it? You must will it. The surest mean is to give oneself to the divine, not to try to draw the divine to oneself, but to try give oneself to the divine. Then you are compelled at least to come out a little from yourself to begin with. Usually, when people think of the divine, the first thing they do is to pull as much as they can into themselves. And then generally they receive nothing at all. They tell you, I called, I prayed, I didn't have the answer, I had no answer, nothing came. But then, if you ask, did you offer yourself? They say no. That is why it did not come. It is not that it did not come, it is that you remain so shut in your ego, as I told you just now. It raises a wall between what is to be received and yourself. You put yourself in a prison and then you are astonished that you are in your prison, you feel nothing. Prison and still more with no windows on the street. Throw yourself out, and our Divine Mother opens her hands. Give yourself without holding back anything, simply for the joy of giving yourself. Then there is a chance that you may feel something. For this, the child says, if one tries to feel that one does not exist, that it is the divine who exists, is that the way of getting out of the ego? For this, our Divine Mother says, one does not exist. This I do not know if one can succeed in anything by trying mentally, because this is a kind of mental effort. So one makes mental construction and does not achieve anything very much. So what is necessary is something spontaneous, intense, a flame burning in the being, a flame of aspiration. If the thing goes on in the head, nothing happens. For that, the child says, but what can be done to make it spontaneous? For this, our Divine Mother says, there is a vast difference between an effort for transformation, which precisely comes from the psychic center of the being, and a kind of a mental construction to obtain something. It is very difficult to make oneself understand, but so long as the thing goes on in the head in this way, and our Divine Mother turns a finger near her forehead, it has no power. It has a very little force that is extremely limited. And all the time it believes itself. One thinks that with great difficulty one collects a will, artificial enough besides. One tries to catch something and the very next minute it is all vanished. And one does not realize it. One asks oneself, how does it turn out like that? The will is not in the head. The will, what I can call the will, is something that's here. And our Divine Mother points to the center of her chest and says, which has a power of action, a power of realization. Our Divine Mother says, what one does exclusively in the head is subject to countless fluctuations. It is not possible to construct a theory, for instance, without there intervening immediately things which give all the opposite arguments. And so there's the great skill of the mind, you know. It can prove, no matter what, argue about anything at all. Consequently, one does not go a step further. Even if momentarily one catches an idea that has a certain force, unless one can keep that state of intensity, as soon as there is a relaxation of the contrary things come along with the charm of the expression, so it is a ceaseless battle, it has no solution. The body, in its natural state, likes equilibrium, likes harmony. It is the other parts of the being which spoils everything. For this, the child says, Sweet mother, how can one prevent the mind from intervening? For this, our divine mother smiles and says, first you must will it. Then you must say, as to people who make a lot of noise, keep quiet, be quiet, be quiet. You must do this when the mind comes along with all its suggestions, all its movements. You must tranquilize it, pacify it, make it silent. The first thing is not to listen to it. Most of the time, as soon as all these come, all these thoughts, one looks, sees to understand, one listens. Naturally, that believes that you are very much interested, it increases its activity. You must not listen. You must not pay attention. It makes too much noise. You must tell it, be still. Now, then, silence, keep quiet without making a lot of noise yourself. You understand? You must not imitate those people who begin shouting, keep quiet, make such a noise themselves that they are even noisier than the others, says our divine mother. Sweet mother, what does an egoistic faith tainted by ambition means? For this, our Divine Mother says, for instance, if one wants to become somebody very important, to have a high position or attract the admiration of people around him, to become a great sadhak, a great sannyasi, a great yogi, somebody quite important, that is what is called having a faith full of ambition. You have the faith that this may happen, you have faith in the divine, but it is for your own small personal vainglory. And this is no longer something pure, sincere, and true. It is something that is entirely for personal profit. Naturally, there is no question in this of any self giving. It is a hoarding of forces, as much as it is possible for you to hoard them. That is to say, the very opposite of the true movement. This happens much oftener than one would think. This movement of ambition is often hidden right in the depths of the being, and it pushes you like this from behind. It whips you so that you get on. It's a kind of veiled pride, says our Divine Mother. Prayers and Meditations, July 7th, 1914. Peace, peace upon all the earth, not the peace of an inconscient sleep or a self satisfied inertia, not the peace of a self forgetful ignorance and a dark, heavy indifference, but the peace of the omnipotent force, the peace of perfect communion, the peace of integral awakening of the difference of all limitation, of all darkness. Why torment oneself and suffer? Why this bitter struggle and painful revolt? Why this vain violence? Why this inconscient heavy sleep? Awake without fear, appease your conflicts, silence your disputes, open your eyes and your heart. The force is there. It is there, divinely pure, luminous, powerful. It is there as a boundless love, a sovereign power, an indisputable reality, an unmixed peace, an uninterrupted beatitude, the supreme benediction. It is self existence, the endless bliss of infinite knowledge, and it is something more which cannot yet to be told, by which is already at work in the higher worlds beyond thought as the power of sovereign transfiguration, and also in the inconscient depths of matter as the irresistible healer. Listen, Listen, O thou who wouldst know, look, thou who would see, contemplate and live. The force is here.